The night was cold and the ruins were silent, only the wind whistling through broken walls. The tiny alien girl sat in the shadows, her arms wrapped around her knees. She was small, fragile, her skin faintly glowing under the pale moon. For days she had hidden there, hungry, trembling, waiting for danger to pass. Her people had told her stories of tall creatures with sharp teeth and cruel eyes. They called them humans. They were described as monsters who hunted small aliens like her, eating their flesh and drinking their blood. As a child, she had believed every word, and now, alone in the ruins, she feared those stories might come true. The sound of heavy boots echoed in the distance. She froze, her tiny heart racing. The sound grew louder, closer, until a shadow appeared between the cracked stone pillars. It was tall, much taller than any being she had seen. The moonlight revealed broad shoulders, armor plates, and a strange helmet with a glass visor. Her eyes widened. Her worst nightmare had come true. It was a human. Her small voice broke the silence. "Please, please don't devour me," she whispered, her body shaking. Her words cracked like dry leaves underfoot. She wanted to run, but her legs refused to move. The human stopped, his head tilting slightly, as if surprised. For a long moment, silence stretched. Only the wind moved between them. The girl's fear thickened in the air. She expected the monster to step closer, grab her, and end her life, but instead, the human slowly lifted both hands and lowered his weapon to the ground. He spoke, his voice deep but calm. "I will not hurt you." The girl blinked in confusion. His words were strange, but she could sense the tone. Gentle, not cruel. Still, she shook her head. "No, you will eat me, like the others said." Her voice trembled like a bird in a storm. The human sighed and removed his helmet. His face was pale under the moon, with tired eyes but no sharp fangs, no dripping blood. He was not what she had imagined. He looked normal, almost peaceful, yet her fear did not vanish. Instead, it grew more confusing. Monsters were not supposed to smile gently. He reached into a pouch at his belt and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. Slowly, carefully, he placed it on the cracked stone near her hiding place and stepped back. The smell drifted through the air, warm and rich. Her stomach growled loudly, betraying her hunger. She stared at the food. Her eyes darted between the human and the cloth. Her mind screamed, "Trap! He wants to fatten me first before he devours me." But her body shook with hunger. She had not eaten in 2 days. Her throat was dry, her limbs weak. The human said softly, "Eat. It is safe." His voice carried no anger, only patience. The girl pressed her back against the stone wall, her tiny fingers digging into the dust. She wanted to resist, but slowly, very slowly, she crawled forward, her glowing eyes never leaving him. Each movement was filled with fear, yet also a desperate pull of survival. She reached the cloth, pulled it close, and sniffed. Inside was bread, soft and warm. Tears welled in her eyes. She had expected poison or rotten flesh, but instead it was simple food. She looked at him again, expecting a sudden lunge, expecting him to reveal the monster everyone warned about, but he only stood still, watching quietly. Her hands shook as she tore a piece and placed it in her mouth. The taste spread across her tongue, warm and filling. Her empty stomach cried with relief. She ate another piece, then another, all while her wide eyes never left him. Finally, when her hunger eased, she pushed the cloth back toward him. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Why feed me? Aren't you going to eat me?" The human crouched, lowering himself to her height, his face calm. "I told you, I will not harm you. I am not your enemy." His words cut through. The fear but doubt still filled her chest. She hugged herself tighter, whispering again, "But you are human, and humans are monsters." The human looked at her for a long moment, his eyes carrying something strange, not cruelty, but sadness. "Maybe that is what you were told," he said softly, "but it is not the truth." The girl's mind swirled. With confusion, she wanted to believe him, but her whole life she had feared this moment. Her people had warned her again and again. Never trust a human. Never let them near. Now here she was, sitting before one eating food he had given her, alive and untouched. The silence between them was heavy. The wind whistled through the ruins again, carrying dust and shadows. The girl's heart beat fast. Her fear was still there, but so was something else, curiosity. For the first time she looked directly into his eyes, searching for the monster her people described. Searching for sharp teeth, dark hunger, or hidden cruelty. Instead, she found only calm patience. And perhaps kindness. The thought shook her even more than fear. She pulled her knees close, whispering again, "If you are not monster, then what are you?" The human's lips curved into a small smile. "I am a friend." But the girl did not believe easily. Her heart raced, her mind screamed, and her fear still clung like chains. Yet somewhere, deep inside, a seed of doubt had been planted, a question that would not leave her mind. What if humans are not what I was told? And so, under the cold moonlight, the tiny alien girl stared at the human who could have ended her life but instead gave her food. Her fear had not vanished, but the first crack had appeared in the wall around her heart. The night had only just begun. The ruins stayed quiet, but inside the girl's chest her heart still pounded like a drum. She had eaten the bread, yet her fear had not gone. The human sat a few steps away, helmet resting beside him, his weapon still lying on the ground. He did not move closer. He did not threaten her. Instead, he only sat watching the broken sky above. The tiny alien girl hugged her knees and whispered to herself, "He is tricking me, I know. He will wait until I sleep. Then he will devour me." The thought made her shiver. Still, she could not forget the taste of the warm food he had given. Monsters were not supposed to feed their prey. Monsters were supposed to hunt. The human looked at her with steady eyes. "You are cold," he said simply. His words confused her again. She had expected anger, maybe cruel laughter. Instead, he spoke as if he cared. Her small body glowed faintly in the dark, and her arms trembled from the chill wind. She refused to admit it, but she was freezing. She turned her head away and muttered, "I do not need you." Her voice was sharp yet weak at the same time. The human did not argue. Instead, he reached into his pack and pulled out a piece of cloth, thicker than her whole body. He spread it gently on the ground near her. "Take this. It will keep you warm." Her eyes widened, suspicion twisting in her chest. Why give me warmth? She thought. He must want me alive, he must be fattening me. She stared at the cloth as though it might bite, but the cold air bit harder. After a long moment, her tiny fingers reached forward and dragged it close. She wrapped herself inside, and to her surprise, warmth flooded through her small body. Tears pricked her eyes, not from pain, but from something she could not explain. Monsters did not share blankets. Monsters did not watch quietly to make sure you were safe. Yet this human did. "Why are you doing this?" she asked suddenly, her voice sharp. "Why not eat me now? I am small, but I am still food." The human's lips curved into a half smile. He shook his head. "You are not food. You are a child. I would never harm you." The words struck her, harder than she expected. A child, that was what her people had stopped calling her long ago. To them she was weak, a burden, useless. But this human spoke as if her life mattered. Still she clung to her fear. Fear was safe. Fear kept her alive. She narrowed her glowing eyes and whispered, "Lies. You want me to trust you?" The human tilted his head. "Maybe one day you will. Maybe not tonight, but I will not stop showing you that you are safe with me." His tone was calm, patient, not demanding. The girl pressed her small hands over her ears as if to block his words, yet even then she could not ignore the strange beating of her heart. It was not only fear anymore, something new stirred inside her, a dangerous thought that perhaps he was not lying. Hours passed in silence. The human built a small fire from broken wood, its glow pushing away the shadows. The girl had never seen such a flame so close. The warmth touched her face. She sat wrapped in the cloth, secretly watching him. Every movement he made confused her more. He placed his weapon far from reach. He closed his eyes when he rested, showing his throat exposed. If he truly was a monster, why would he show such weakness? She edged closer, crawling on silent feet. Her small, glowing eyes studied his face. His breath was slow, steady. He looked almost peaceful, like someone who carried heavy weight, yet still chose kindness. Her small hand lifted, trembling. She wanted to touch, to test if he was real, if his skin would burn like her elders said. But before she could, his eyes opened slowly, meeting hers. She gasped and pulled back quickly, almost tripping over the cloth. He did not scold her. He only said gently, "It is all right, I will not hurt you." His voice carried no anger, only warmth. Her throat tightened. Words tumbled out without her control. "Then why save me? Why give me food? Why give me this cloth?" The human looked into the fire before answering. "Because no one deserves to be cold or hungry or afraid, not even you." Her chest tightened at those words. She wanted to scream, to tell him he was lying. But tears betrayed her, rolling down her cheeks. She quickly turned away, hiding her face. The human did not reach for her. He did not touch. He only sat near the fire, letting her cry. The girl hated herself for those tears, hated that she felt something she had never felt before. Safety. The wind outside howled, but inside the ruins there was warmth. The human sat quietly, letting the fire crackle. The girl sniffled and pulled the cloth tighter around herself. Her glowing eyes softened, though fear still clung like a shadow. At last, her small voice whispered into the silence. Maybe you are not like the stories, maybe." She stopped, fear catching her words. The human heard her, but he did not push. He only nodded slowly. His patience was like a shield around her, stronger than walls. That night, the tiny alien girl lay wrapped in his cloth, her body trembling, less than before. Her eyes closed at last, sleep dragging her into uneasy dreams. And though fear still whispered in her heart, another whisper joined it. Something she had never dared to believe. What if this human is not a monster? What if he is something else? The fire burned low and the human kept watch, silent and steady. His gentle hand had not touched her, yet it had changed everything. The long night was only beginning, and so was the truth she had yet to discover. The fire burned low, glowing red in the ruins. Smoke curled toward the broken ceiling. The tiny alien girl lay wrapped in the thick cloth the human had given her. Her glowing eyes peeked from under the fabric, always watching, always waiting. Her stomach was full for the first time in days. Her body warm, yet her mind refused to rest. Fear was her constant companion, and fear whispered to her again, "He only feeds you to make you strong. Tomorrow he will devour you." She turned her small face toward him. The human sat near the fire, his weapon still far away, his helmet resting on a stone. His eyes were half closed but not asleep. He was listening to the night, guarding. The girl shivered, not from cold this time but from doubt. She had expected monsters to snarl, to show teeth, to laugh cruelly. But this human, he was silent, patient, almost gentle. She hated that it made her heart confused. She curled tighter into the cloth and whispered, "Why don't you sleep? Are you waiting for me to close my eyes first?" The human's eyes opened fully. He looked at her across the fire. "I keep watch. There are dangers in these ruins. You should rest." Her eyes narrowed. "So you can strike when I am weak?" His lips curved faintly, not angry, not mocking. "So I can protect you when you are weak." Those words stabbed into her chest. She pulled the cloth higher to hide her face. Her people had never said such words to her. To them she was a burden, a mistake, someone too small, too fragile to survive, and now here was the very monster she feared, saying she deserved protection. The fire cracked and silence stretched between them. She thought of running, but her body was too weak. She thought of staying awake all night, but her eyelids felt heavy. Still, Fear refused to leave. Minutes passed, maybe hours. The human leaned back against the stone wall, finally letting his eyes close. His breathing slowed, steady and calm. His chest rose and fell like the rhythm of the sea. The girl pushed herself up quietly, her small body glowing faintly in the dark. She crept closer on her hands and knees, her tiny heart racing. This was her chance. She could escape now, slip away while he slept. But when she reached the edge of the fire's glow, her legs froze. She turned her head, her eyes locked on him again. He looked so strange without the helmet, his face tired but soft, his mouth relaxed, his hands open. He did not look like a predator at all. She whispered to herself, "If he is tricking me, why sleep so easily? Why show weakness?" Her small glowing hand lifted again, trembling. She wanted to touch his face to see if it would burn like her elders had warned. They had told her human skin was poison, that even a single touch would melt her flesh. Her fingers hovered near. His cheek, the heat of the fire, brushed her skin, but nothing else. She waited for the pain. But none came. Her hand shook. She pulled it back quickly, her breath loud in the silence. The human stirred, his eyes opening. He saw her, crouched close, fear painted across her glowing face. She gasped, expecting him to grab her, to reveal the monster at last, but he only whispered, "Couldn't sleep?" Her mouth went dry. She stammered, I was making sure you would not eat me." Her words cracked, shame mixing with fear. He nodded slowly, as if her suspicion did not anger him. "Then watch me. If it helps you feel safe, stay awake, and see that I will not harm you." Her lips parted, shocked. He was offering her the choice, not demanding trust. That was new. That was terrifying. So she stayed awake, her glowing eyes fixed on him. The fire burned lower, the night colder. Still he did not move toward her, did not lunge, did not bare teeth. Instead, when the fire dimmed too much, he fed it with more wood, his every action slow, careful, as if not to frighten her. The girl's body betrayed her. Her eyelids grew heavier. Her head nodded once, then again. She jerked awake, glaring at him. But he only smiled faintly and said, "Sleep, I'll keep watch." She shook her head. "No, if I sleep you will." Her words trailed off, her body swaying. "Then don't sleep," he said gently. "Stay awake as long as you can. See for yourself." His calmness broke through her walls more than any force could. She wanted to fight it. But warmth wrapped around her, exhaustion pressed into her. Her tiny frame curled deeper into the cloth and slowly her eyes closed. In her half-dreaming mind, she heard his voice one last time. "Rest now, little one. You are safe." She drifted into sleep, trembling. At first, then breathing softer. For the first time in years, she slept not in fear of her own kind, not in fear of the wild, but in the presence of a human she had thought a monster. The human sat awake beside the fire, his eyes scanning the ruins, his weapon near but untouched, his body tired but his will strong. He looked once at the small glowing form curled inside. The cloth fragile, innocent, afraid, he whispered to himself, "No one will harm you tonight." The ruins creaked in the wind, shadows shifted. Predators prowled in the distance, but none dared come near the watchful human. And so the first night together passed, not in blood, not in fear, but in uneasy peace. A fragile bond had been born in silence, a bond that would change them both. Sci-Fi. Night had tested them, but the real test was yet to come. The morning came slowly, pale light breaking through the cracks of the ruined walls. The fire had burned down to ash, and cold mist drifted between the stones. The tiny alien girl stirred inside the thick cloth, blinking her glowing eyes open. For a moment she forgot where she was, but then she saw the human sitting nearby, quietly checking his pack. Her heart leapt with fear. She pulled the cloth tighter around her small body, whispering, "It was not a dream. He is still here. The monster has not left." The human noticed her movement and turned, his face calm. "You slept good." She frowned, confusion mixing with fear. "Why didn't you eat me while I slept?" Her voice cracked as she asked. It was the same question that haunted her since the night began. He shook his head, almost smiling. I told you. I am not here to harm you. I am leaving soon. There is a mission I must complete. Her small chest tightened at the word leaving. For a moment, relief filled her. If he left, she would be safe, but another part of her, the part she did not understand, whispered, "If he goes, you will be alone again." The human stood, slinging his pack over his shoulder. "These ruins are dangerous. You should not stay here." His eyes rested on her small frame, still wrapped in his cloth. "Come with me. It will be safer." The girl's glowing eyes widened. She shook her head violently. "No, that is your trap. If I go with you, you will take me far away and devour me, where no one will hear my screams." Her voice echoed against the stone, sharp with terror. The human sighed softly, but he did not argue. He crouched to her level, keeping his distance. "I will not force you. You can choose. Stay here and face the beasts that hunt the ruins, or walk with me where I can protect you." His calm words twisted inside her. She wanted to scream at him, to call him a liar, but deep inside she knew he was right. Already she had heard the growls in the night. Already she had seen the glowing eyes in the shadows. If not for him, she would not have survived. Her small fists clenched. Her pride told her to stay, but her fear of being alone screamed louder. Finally, with trembling legs, she stood and clutched the cloth around herself. "Fine," she muttered, "but if you try to eat me, I will bite you first." The human chuckled softly, not unkindly. "Fair enough." And so the journey began. They walked through the broken streets of the ruined city, the human's tall frame leading the way, the tiny girl scurrying behind. Her glowing eyes darted at every sound, every shadow. Her heart pounded with every step. At first she kept her distance, leaving many paces between them, but when a low growl came from a dark alley, she hurried closer, nearly tripping on the cracked stones. The human glanced back but said nothing. He only adjusted his pace so she could keep up. The day grew colder, clouds hiding the weak sun. The human took off one of his gloves and handed it to her. "Your hands are shaking," he said. She stared at the glove, then at him, suspicion rising again. "Why?" she demanded. "Why give me this?" "Because you are freezing," he answered simply. "And I have another." She hesitated, then snatched the glove and shoved her small hand inside. It was far too big, but it was warm. She looked away quickly, hiding the strange feeling in her chest. Hours passed. They moved through fields of twisted metal and broken stone. The human sometimes stopped, scanning the horizon with sharp eyes. The girl watched him closely, still expecting the trap to spring, yet, when danger appeared, it was not from him. A sudden screech cut through the air, shadows moved across the rubble. 3 wild beasts with glowing jaws crept forward, their eyes fixed on the tiny girl. She froze, her knees shaking. The human stepped in front of her, weapon raised, his voice calm. "Stay behind me." Before she could protest, the beasts lunged. The human's weapon roared, flashes of light striking the air. The monsters fell one by one, their screeches fading into silence. The girl clutched the cloth around herself tighter, her glowing eyes wide with shock. He had stood between her and death. He had risked himself when the last beast lay still. The human lowered his weapon. He looked back at her. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head quickly, voice trembling. Why did you protect me? If I am food, why not let them take me?" His gaze softened. "Because you are not food, I already told you." Her chest tightened again. Her people's warnings clashed with the truth in front of her. Everything was wrong. Everything she thought she knew was breaking. As they continued, walking, the girl's mind swirled. She stayed close now, her small steps almost matching his. The ruins stretched endlessly ahead. But the fear of the human's hand had begun to weaken, and as the cold wind swept across the broken world, the girl whispered to herself words she could not believe she was saying. Maybe he really isn't a monster. But the louder voice inside her heart warned, "Do not trust yet, monsters are clever. He could still betray you." And so the journey continued, each step filled with fear, doubt, and a fragile spark of hope that scared her even more than hunger ever had. The road ahead was long, and the true test had not yet come. The sun fell behind the broken hills, and the world turned into long shadows. The human and the tiny alien girl moved carefully through the ruins. The air grew colder, every sound sharper. Every broken wall seemed to hide eyes. Every breeze carried whispers of danger. The girl walked close now, no longer daring to stay far behind. The events of the day, the beasts, the protection, the fire, still spun inside her small head. She wanted to believe he was not a monster, but fear still clung. To her heart like chains, night came fast. The human found shelter in a hollow structure. Half buried by rubble, he lit a small fire, its glow dancing on the stone walls. The girl sat wrapped in his cloth, silent. Her glowing eyes reflected the flames. For a while there was peace. The human ate something from his pack, then said another. Peace near her without a word. She stared at it, then at him, still suspicious, but hunger won. She ate in silence, every bite a battle between fear and trust. The ruins outside whispered with strange noises, growls and distant screeches. The girl pulled the cloth tighter around herself. "They are coming," she whispered. Her people had always warned her. At night the real predators moved. The human nodded calmly, placing more wood on the fire. "I know. That is why I will keep watch." His voice carried no fear, only steady strength. She looked at him, her heart trembling. "Why? Why risk your life for me? I am nothing to you." He looked at her, his eyes steady. "Because you are alive, that is enough reason." Before she could answer, the silence broke. A sharp howl tore through the night. The ground trembled with heavy steps. The firelight flickered as shadows closed in. Glowing eyes appeared in the dark. Many, too many. The girl gasped and clutched the cloth tighter. "They found us!" The human rose to his feet, weapon ready, his voice firm. "Stay behind me." The first beast lunged from the shadows, massive jaws wide. The human fired, light flashing, the beast collapsing with a screech. But more came, crawling from the darkness, their bodies slick with hunger. The girl screamed and pressed herself against the wall, her tiny hands shaking. Fear consumed her. Her people had always said, "Humans fight for themselves. Humans abandon the weak. He will run. He will leave you." But he did not. He stood tall, every movement sharp, his weapon roaring again and again. Beasts fell, but more replaced them. The room shook with their fury, claws scraping stone, jaws snapping. One beast slipped past his guard, rushing straight toward her. She froze, her body too small, too weak to move. Death came roaring. But the human turned faster than she thought possible. He threw himself between her and the monster. The beast's claws raked his arm, blood spilling bright, but his weapon fired point blank, and the beast collapsed at his feet. The girl's glowing eyes widened, her breath caught. You bled for me," she whispered, her voice trembling with shock. The human winced, but did not fall. He raised his weapon again, fighting through the pain. His voice was steady. "Stay down. I won't let them take you." Tears filled her eyes. She could not understand. He should have left her. She was nothing. She was prey. Yet here he was, bleeding, standing, refusing to move away from her. The battle raged. The firelight flickered. Wildly as the beasts charged, the human fought with everything, his arms shaking, his breath heavy. But he did not back down. Finally, with one last echoing shot, the last beast fell silent. The ruins returned to stillness, broken only by the crackle of the dying fire. The human staggered, lowering his weapon, his arm dripping blood. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The girl rushed forward without thinking, her small hands trembling. "You're hurt," she cried, her glowing eyes wide with panic. She had never cared for anyone before, not truly, yet the sight of him bleeding tore at her heart. He looked down at her, sweat on his face, and smiled faintly. "I told you. I will protect you." Her throat closed, words caught inside. She had called him monster, had feared him with every breath, but no monster would bleed to shield her. No monster would fight so hard for her life. She pulled the cloth from her shoulders and pressed it against his wound, her small hands shaking as she tried to stop the bleeding. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Why? Why would you do this for me? I am nothing. I am nobody. He looked at her, his voice quiet but strong. You are not nothing. You are someone. Someone worth saving. Her tears fell harder, dripping onto the cloth. Her chest ached with feelings she had never known. Gratitude, confusion, something like hope. The night grew quiet again, but the silence was different now. The girl no longer saw him as just a monster in the dark. She saw the truth in his actions, in the blood he had shed for her. Yet deep inside, fear still whispered, what if this is still a trick? What if he only waits to betray me later? But another voice, softer, stronger, whispered back, what if he really is what he says? What if he is not monster, but protector? She looked at him as he leaned back against the wall, his eyes closing briefly, his body tired but still guarding the fire. Her small, glowing hand rested on his arm, pressing the cloth into his wound. For the first time, she was not only afraid, for the first time she wanted him to live. The night had almost destroyed them, but it had also revealed something she could no longer deny. The human was no monster. He was something far more dangerous. To her heart, he was kind, and kindness was harder to fight than fear. The night passed slowly after the battle. The fire's glow was weak, the smell of blood still heavy in the air. The human sat slumped against the wall, his wound wrapped in the cloth, his eyes half closed but still alert, guarding the shadows. The tiny alien girl sat beside him, her glowing eyes never leaving his face. She had pressed the cloth against his wound until her own hands were stained red. Her small chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. Fear still lingered, but now something new stirred within her, something stronger than fear. When morning light crept through the cracks, she whispered, you should not have done that. You should not have bled for me. The human turned his head, his voice quiet. If I had not, you would not be here now. Her throat tightened. She looked away quickly, her glowing hair falling into her face. But I am nothing. My people said I was too small, too weak. They said I was a mistake, not worth saving. His eyes softened. Then they lied. She froze, the word lied burning in her mind. Her elders had filled her ears with stories, stories of humans as monsters, stories of betrayal and cruelty. And yet here was a human bleeding, protecting, giving her warmth and food. How could both things be true? Tears pricked her eyes. Her voice shook. All my life, they told me humans eat children like me, that your skin burns, that your touch destroys, and still, I touched you and nothing happened. I slept beside you and you did not devour me. Why? Why would they lie? The human looked into the fire, silent for a long time, then he spoke. Sometimes fear is easier than truth. If your people feared us, they could control you, keep you away from us. Maybe they did not want you to know that we are not so different. His words cut deep. She pulled her knees to her chest, hugging them tight. Her glowing body trembled. But if that is true, then everything I believed is wrong. The human's voice was gentle but firm. Not wrong, only incomplete. You believed what you were told. Now you see with your own eyes. That is the difference? Her tears fell silently, dripping onto her knees. She whispered, then why do I still feel afraid of you? Why can't I believe you fully? He gave a tired smile. Because fear is heavy. It does not leave quickly. It takes time. But you are brave enough to question it. That is the first step. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide. His face was pale from blood loss, his body tired. Yet even weak, he still guarded her, still carried no sign of cruelty. She reached out with trembling fingers and touched his arm gently. You are not monster, she whispered. But, then what are you? He looked down at her tiny hand on his skin, his voice steady. I am human. That means I can fight, I can bleed, I can make mistakes. But it also means I can choose, and I choose not to harm you. Her breath caught. Her heart pounded. The stories had never said anything about choice. To her people, monsters were monsters, They did not change. Yet this human had chosen again and again, chosen to feed her, to warm her, to protect her even when it cost him pain. The truth broke through her fear like light through a crack. Her tears flowed faster. She covered her face with her glowing hands and sobbed, "I hated you before I even knew you. I thought you would hurt me, and still you saved me. Why? Why would you care?" The human did not reach for her. He only spoke softly. "Because I know what it is like to be small, to be afraid. I cannot turn away from that even if you hate me." His words shook her soul. For the first time, she saw not only kindness but pain in his eyes. He carried his own scars, invisible but heavy. She crawled closer, her tiny frame trembling, and sat at his side. Her glowing body pressed lightly against him. She whispered, "I don't know if I can trust you, but I don't want to be alone anymore." He closed his eyes for a moment, nodding slowly. "Then you don't have to be." The silence that followed was not empty. It was filled with something new, something fragile but powerful. For the first time, she did not see him as just human or monster. She saw him as a person, one who had given her more than her people ever had. The truth was heavy, but it was also freeing. She whispered again, almost to herself. "They were wrong about you. They were wrong about humans." Outside, the wind howled through the ruins, carrying away the old lies. Inside, near the dying fire, a tiny alien girl sat beside a wounded human, and for the first time in her life, she believed that maybe monsters were not real. Maybe kindness was, and yet in the back of her mind a question still lingered. A question that would follow her into the days ahead. If one human could be kind, what else had her people lied about? The truth had been revealed, but it was only the beginning. The ruins were quiet again, the danger gone for now. The human leaned weakly against the wall, his wound bandaged with torn cloth. His breath was heavy, but his eyes were steady. They never left the small glowing girl who sat close beside him. Tiny alien girl hugged her knees, staring at the fire's dying flames. Her mind swirled with everything she had seen. His blood spilled for her, his hands giving food and warmth, his voice calling her someone worth saving. For so long she had believed humans were monsters. She had lived in fear, hiding in shadows, trembling at every sound. But now, sitting beside him, she felt something new, something her people had never taught her. Safety. Her voice was small but clear. "You are not monster." The human smiled faintly, tired but calm. "I told you." She looked at him, her glowing eyes wet with tears. "Then why do I still feel afraid? Not of you, but of what I believed all my life. If I was wrong about humans, then maybe I was wrong about everything." He studied her face, his voice gentle. "Fear is a chain, but chains can be broken. You are not wrong to be afraid. You are brave because you faced it." Her small chest ached at his words. Her people had never called her brave, never even called her strong. Yet here he was, a human she once called monster, giving her what she needed most, hope. Hours passed. The sun began to rise, pale light spilling over the ruins. The human pushed himself to his feet slowly, his arms still weak but steady. He offered his hand to Biao. She hesitated, her glowing eyes fixed on his open palm. Her people had always said, "Never touch a human, never take their hand." But then she remembered the warmth of his cloth, the way he stood between her and death. The truth she had seen in his eyes. Her small hand trembled, but at last she placed it in his. His hand was large, rough, but gentle. She gasped softly at the warmth. Tears blurred her vision. You feel real, not monster." He gave her hand a light squeeze. "Because I am real and I choose to walk with you, not against you." Together, they left the broken shelter. The world ahead was still dangerous, filled with beasts, ruins, and lies. But the girl's steps were steadier now. She walked beside him, not behind. As they crossed the shattered streets, she whispered, "When my people see you, they will still call you monster." The human nodded. "Then let them see with their own eyes as you did." Her glowing eyes widened. What if they never believe? What if they hurt you? His voice was calm. Then I will endure because truth is stronger than fear. Her small heart pounded. She wanted to believe him. And for the first time she did. Not because of his words, but because of his actions. They walked for hours. Silence between them no longer heavy but peaceful. The girl glanced at him again and again. Her fear had not vanished, but something stronger grew in its place. Trust. Finally, as they rested near a fallen tower, she crawled close to him, her small, glowing body pressed lightly against his side. She whispered, "I don't want to be alone anymore. If you leave me, I will break." The human looked down at her, his tired eyes soft. "Then I will not leave you." Her tears spilled again, but this time they were not from fear. They were from relief. For the first time in her life, she believed she belonged. She whispered the words that had been locked. Inside her heart, "You are my protector, my friend." The human smiled faintly, his hand resting gently over her small one. "And you are not my prey. You are my companion." The words wrapped around her heart like a shield. For so long she had been told she was weak, worthless, food. But in his eyes she was none of those things. She was someone who mattered. The sun rose higher, lighting the ruins with gold. The monsters of the night were gone. The lies of her people still echoed in her mind. But now she carried something stronger. The memory of his gentle hand, the fire in his eyes, the truth of his kindness. And as they walked forward, hand in hand, the girl knew her world had changed forever. No matter what others said, no matter what lies tried to return, she would never again see humans as monsters, because she had seen the truth with her own eyes. He was human, yes, but he was more than that. He was her friend, her shield, her bond beyond fear. And for the first time, the tiny alien girl smiled at the rising sun, not with terror but with hope.